Is your porn use the cause of your ADHD? Over the last 4+ years, I've spoken with thousands of men who are struggling with a pornography addiction. And every single one of these men that reaches out to us is coming to us because they've identified problems within their life. They've identified that their use of pornography is holding them back. And these men all are experiencing side effects. Some of them are lacking with intimacy, struggling to connect with their wives. Many of them are lacking purpose, struggling to find the motivation and desire to get up off the couch and go chase the meaning in their life. Many of them are struggling with their fitness health. They've seen their weight go up and up on the scale over years. But many of them are struggling with focus, with attention. And a lot of them have been prescribed with ADHD, perhaps even been told since a young boy, you are not normal. You have ADD, you have ADHD, and they've been on medications. They've sought out therapy, but yet none of it has worked. But once again, a link between all these men, whether it's connection with their wife, whether it's purpose, meaning, physical health, or attention deficit disorder. One thing that links them all together is a compulsive use with pornography and masturbation. Now, I've also been fortunate to speak with a handful of neuroscientists, two in particular, Dr. Anna Lembke and Dr. Trish Lee. And I think it was Anna's work in Dopamine Nation and the conversation that I had with her on the Superman Life that really brought an understanding to me about the links of these things and how it's tied to dopamine deficiency. And then more recently in my episode with Dr. Trish Lee, we dove deep into erectile dysfunction, porn use, and the root cause of many of these issues with a lot of men. And once again, it brought even more insight into my understanding between the links between pornography use, supernormal stimuli, our dopamine receptors, and how men can struggle with focus and attention. So I want to talk to you today about the link between your porn addiction and why you struggle with attention, focus, or perhaps have even told yourself, I have ADD or ADHD. For those of you that are new here, my name is Coach Frank Rich, founder of Rebuilt Recovery and host of the Rebuilt Man podcast. And it is our mission to help men become better men by quitting porn and rebuilding their lives. And we do that here 3 times per week on this show. So if you're watching there on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn those post notifications on. And if you can, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, like this video so we can spread it across the algorithm. If you're tuning in on the audio side, guys, you can take a moment after today's episode and leave us a 5-star rating and written review. But if you want some help in breaking free from addiction, we put together a 12-step training teaching our framework that has helped thousands of men break free from pornography addiction. And you can find that at rebuiltrecovery.com/12 steps. Now, to understand the link between porn addiction and ADHD, you have to understand how dopamine in our brain works. Dopamine, many of us recognize as the chemical of pleasure, but is also the chemical of motivation and reward. When we are pursuing the meaningful things in our life that are bringing us closer towards the desired outcome that we've set for ourselves, we get small drips of dopamine. Now let's talk about dopamine maybe on a scale of 1 to 10. The numbers are going to be irrelevant here, but the picture that is painted is what's going to matter. So if our dopamine is regularly supposed to operate on a scale of 1 to 10, our baseline is somewhere between a 5, 6, maybe upwards of a 7. Now, pursuing small, meaningful goals, going to the gym, working on a project, doing work outside on the home to bring more beauty into your landscape. Those are moving you closer toward a desired outcome. You have already told yourself that accomplishing those things will make your life better. So when you take small steps in progression of those goals, your dopamine may go from a 6 to a 7.5 or possibly to an 8. Now with pornography, because pornography is a supernormal stimuli, it takes your dopamine from a baseline level of 6 to 7, maybe upwards of a 14 to 15. Nothing in the natural world will give you the stimulus that pornography and drugs and alcohol and gambling do. These are supernormal stimuli. We're not meant to live off of these things. Now, what's interesting, and this is from my conversation with Dr. Anna Lemke, is our dopamine works on a cycle. So with every increase in dopamine, in order for it to return back to baseline, it must have a decrease of equal measure. So using that scale of 1 to 10, if you operate at a 6, but going to the gym brings you towards a 7.5, then somewhere shortly after that workout, you will fall back to a 4.5. Now, if going up in the scale brings us pleasure, we must understand that going down in the scale brings us pain. And pain oftentimes associated with dopamine is going to be lack of drive, lack of motivation, perhaps intrusive or depressive thoughts, lack of purpose, meaning, fulfillment. On a small scale here, I'm talking. So when you go to the gym and you feel really good, you're not going to become utterly depressed shortly thereafter. The scale wasn't big enough. But you may lose a little bit of your motivation. We've all experienced this. After a workout, you don't feel like going to work out again. So that's how that scale works. And if we're operating in a natural way, we never deviate too far from our baseline. But when we pull that lever of pornography, that supernormal stimuli that takes us from a 6 to a 15, well, now we have a 9-point spread. We have a margin of 9 that we must have to make up. So in order for us to return back to a 6, our dopamine baseline must drop to a -3. Now, at a -3, that's where the intrusive thoughts can become really depressive. That's where the hopelessness can come into play. And when you're in those stages, you're seeking anything that'll pull you out of it, right? So whereas normally the music, the social media, the YouTube, the going back to pornography, the let me find the next shiny object, because you're looking for that shiny object to return you back to a 15, but you're at a 3. So you see what I'm getting to here is your ADHD is not a disease that you hold. It's nothing more than a dopamine deficiency that is a byproduct of you constantly pulling that lever of pornography. Now, the more regularly that you hit it, the more you return back to it, the more you're going to need more and more stimuli. It's going to create almost that puppy dog experience in your life. If you've ever had a dog, you know that a puppy cannot stay attention on anything for any length of time. Every 2 seconds, it's something new. And if you felt this way in your life, it's not because there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with the way that you're living. There's something wrong with the way that you created your life. So how do you get out of this addiction? How do you cure your ADHD? Well, check out the 12-step training, rebuiltrecovery.com/12 steps. It's linked down there in the show notes. But here's some practical tips here today for you. Get off pornography. Stop consuming the behavior. Stop hitting that button that is going to jump you from a 6 to 15. Set meaningful and purposeful goals in your life on a daily basis. Small tasks, small wins, small accomplishments that when executed on and recognized are moving you closer towards the man that you want to become. And in that recognition of doing the things that are bringing me closer towards the man that I want to become, I will go from 6 to 7, 6 to 8, 6 to 7.5. Now I've created a healthy cycle of dopamine. Because when you're in a 4, you're not going to look for the big shiny object to pull you out of it, but you'll look for the next thing to move you closer towards your goals, the next thing to move you closer towards the man that you want to become. Your ADHD is not a disease. It's not something that makes you rare or unique. Your ADHD is nothing more than a byproduct of you constantly pulling that lever of pornography and spiking your dopamine and returning your dopamine into a deficient state. And when you understand it and see it through this lens, the pathway out of it is so clear to see. Because quitting porn is not just about stopping the behavior. It is about creating a life that is meaningful, purposeful, and inspirational for you to wake up every single day and attack. So like I said, check out their training at rebuiltrecovery.com/12 steps. It's linked down there in the show notes below. Subscribe to the podcast, share this if you got value out of it. But I want to encourage you, no matter where you are in your journey, your freedom is not as far as you believe it to be. Begin to take action. Begin to build a life that no longer needs, wants, or desires pornography. And I'm telling you, everything you hoped, dreamed, and desired to become is sitting there waiting for you. Coach Frank of the Rebuilt Man, we love you guys. We'll see you in the next one.